And welcome to the version. Starting with the market updates, let's talk about Bitcoin. Recently, in this week, we have seen mostly Bitcoin moving sideways. We saw Bitcoin forming a cup and handle pattern, but right now we are seeing the reaction to that pattern, that is moving on the downside. Bitcoin is hovering in between the resistance of 19,700 to the bottom of support 18,700. And it has been quite a while. Bitcoin formed VIX on the few exchanges, or you can say most of the exchanges. However, we can still see Bitcoin is following this trend line and moving downwards. If you see, this trend line has been acting as a resistance. However, BTC broke this trend line on 24th June, but then this trend line acted as support, but however breaking down to this trend line occurred on 30th June, and we are still seeing that this is acting as a strong resistance right now. Talking about the RSI levels, Bitcoin has cooled off its RSI level to 36. That means we are ready for further more downside. If Bitcoin breaks this trend line resistance, then we can see a little bit upside to again the level of 19,700. However, I expect furthermore downside on the Bitcoin to reach the previous lows, or at least 18,000 to 17,600 region, and then move upwards. However, there are still more chances for the Bitcoin to be weakening, as I'll be discussing few of the reasons in this same video. Moving on towards the Bitcoin dominance, as we already discussed, Bitcoin dominance is also showing the weakness in the Bitcoin market capturation, as we already discussed in the previous updates that Bitcoin will be touching and testing the support of 43.16%, and right now it's almost at 43.32. It has tested the support today, and we are seeing a reaction and a little bit bounce from the support. This can lead to the bleeding in altcoins if we start to move upwards from this support. Although I believe that this support should not be broken, as it would further weaken the crypto market overall and could lead to furthermore capitulation from the miners, which are a main source of Bitcoin right now, and the exchanges are getting a lot of Bitcoin from the miners, as we are in the event of miners capitulation, as mining is a costly process right now, and to meet the maintenance, the rent, the equipment, the energy costs, the miners need to pay their bills. And obviously, since the market is not really supportive and the Bitcoin market is right now even below the price of mining per Bitcoin, and therefore we are seeing miners capitulation and eventually miners selling. Although it's a rare event, but it's happening these days, as the market is really oversold. Even if we see the Bitcoin chart on the weekly time frame, you can see we are still oversold. Let's see the RSI as well as the moving averages. Moving average of 100 for the weekly is also an indicator of certain levels. Right now we are still below the 200 weekly moving average, which is currently standing at a value of 22,600. If we break above this level, which I suspect is not going to happen anytime soon, as the market is very weak right now, as well as with the falling Bitcoin dominance, this is going to happen anytime soon, and we are expecting furthermore downside. If you see on the weekly chart as well as the monthly chart, Bitcoin is forming a head and shoulders pattern, and whenever we have a head and shoulders pattern, Bitcoin moves down, or any cryptocurrency moves down at least 85% from the top of the head. If you see from the 85% perspective, then Bitcoin should at least reach the level of $10,000 per Bitcoin. However, this is not a confirmation signal, but still we need to confirm that if Bitcoin is still unable to break this 200 moving average resistance, then it needs to at least test it once and show how much strong this resistance is, and continue its way further down. And if it doesn't happen, it would further indicate that altcoin would continue to show us little bit strength before collapsing completely. However, I still expect Bitcoin dominance to move up, as it's already on the support, which we discussed shortly. But still, This also indicates overall how weak Bitcoin market is right now, and the primary reason for Bitcoin's weakness in the market is obviously miners capitulation. Another reason, if you see, we are seeing a lot of FUD in the market, that there are many companies getting bankrupt, even many exchanges suspending withdrawals such as CoinFlex, as well as Sam Bankman-Fried recently announced that there might be many crypto companies or exchanges that are on the verge of bankruptcy, but they are not declaring right now, which will cause further panic creation in the market and sell off, which would cause a domino effect and the further more increased chances of those companies getting bankrupt. So therefore, Sam Bankman-Fried told the market that there are too many exchanges that are about to go bankrupt. So I would recommend you not to keep your hard-earned money or your profits in the exchanges. A little bit of that is okay. However, you can always use your wallets, and that is fine. However, in these circumstances, when too many big companies are falling, and obviously you know that the short companies would be crushed in this runaway right now. If you are still confident in your exchange, then do your diligence, and obviously I wouldn't recommend you to keep your money in smaller exchanges or smaller lending companies, as you can see what is happening to the big players in the market, and obviously it's not going to save us from those giant companies failing if we have our funds there. If you have noticed that Bitcoin is finding very hard to break down below this level, although we have a lot of FUD in the market. As you know that I have already discussed that if you see a lot of FUD in the market and still Bitcoin is finding it difficult to crash any further, that means we can see say that Bitcoin is very close to its bottom. But you can also question it, then why miners are selling. It is because I already discussed, miners need to meet their expenses, their costs such as energy costs, maintenance costs, equipment costs, a lot of overheads, taxes for the mining business to survive. However, they need to sell some of their bitcoins to continue their business running. But still, we can observe Bitcoin is forming a bottom, as well as it can be a possible turnaround point for Bitcoin. But still, the Bitcoin dominance indicating is that is not anytime happening soon. Moving on towards ETH to BTC chart, as we discussed recently that it is on a symmetric triangle, and we have to see whether it falls upside, whether it breaks on the upside or the downside. There are more chances if the Bitcoin dominance bounces strongly from the support which we just saw, then it can break on the downside after touching this trend line, which is more likely to happen, and we can see further bleeding of the altcoins as altcoins have been performing quite well compared to Bitcoin, and this is a rare case in the bear market, as BTC dominance must increase, which also is an indicator that the bottom is close. Moving on towards the miner capitulation part, I said I'll be discussing. If you see, we have recently saw miners transfer 4600 BTC on 16 June and another 5600 BTC on 21st June on particular exchange. Then we can observe that miners have been selling their Bitcoin. However, if you see, this particular miner pool has sent it to the uh, leverage market. If you can see, they are quite right now hedging against the falling price of Bitcoin in order to just meet their expenses. That is most probable scenario, that they got a margin call and they have to load more Bitcoin to secure their positions if they were in long positions. However, if they are securing the position, that is fine, no need to be worried. However, if the market is continued to go down, then they can even hedge their positions with shorting Bitcoin, and that is totally okay. But the main concern would be if they sell these Bitcoins, we can see a panic crash in the market, which we are seeing as well from quite a while. If they started to deposit those into the spot market, which we have seen, it is right now from this particular miner, it is on the perpetual market, and even many small miners have sold off their BTC, quite a lot of Bitcoins in the market. As we recently saw in the previous days, there was a miner which transferred 60,000 Bitcoins from their F2 pool, and we saw a massive crash from 28,000 to down all the way down to 22,000 region. So that is overall, I think that if these miners are capitulating, then we can see the bottom can be anytime around. And obviously if the whales are continuing to buy, that means that there is a lot of capital in the system is still available for the transfer of wealth from miners to the whales. Another important news regarding Ripple, as I already discussed in many of my tweets as well as in videos, that Ripple is, I suspect, a very centralized cryptocurrency, and therefore it's not in my favorite cryptocurrencies or even in the cryptocurrencies which I will ever touch. If you can see in the on-chain analysis, many news are covering that Ripple CEO, who owns approximately Ripple's co-founder, who owns approximately 5% of the total supply, has been silently selling his XRP. He has approximately remaining 4.7 billion XRP left to sell, which is about 5% of the supply. And in the beginning, he had more than this percentage, which he had been selling from quite a while, between 2014 to 2016. If you see the year is 2014 to 2016, and if you see the statistics on the analytics, then you can see that XRP has never formed an all-time high in the past 4.5 years. That means we can see that this large centralization of these cryptocurrencies is definitely affecting, as the creators create coins out of thin air and just sell it on the dump it on the market. Therefore, I never recommend you to go after the centralized cryptocurrencies, and obviously, one of the major reasons I personally don't go after XRP and relevant cryptocurrency. You can also see the on-chain analysis that how much he have sold from his wallet, and approximately half of the balance is still remaining. So you can see the and even get the future outlook of XRP from the on-chain analysis, how the co-founders are selling their or dumping their tokens on the holders just for personal revenue. If the video was anyway helpful for you, please hit the like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.